with Caroline Bandino. Did I say it
Woo!
right?
Caroline Baudino, I'm here.
Here she is. And she's also known as Shop with Caroline. I'm so
Yay.
excited you're on here. It's episode 370 with Busy Living Sober. And before we go any further, we're going to give a shout out to SoberLink. Getting sober is a lifestyle change, and sometimes a little technology can help. Imagine a breathalyzer that works like a habit tracker for sobriety. SoberLink helps you replace bad habits with healthy ones, weighing less than a pound and as compact as a sunglass case. SoberLink devices have a built-in facial recognition, tamper detection, and advanced reporting, which is just a fancy way of saying, I'll keep you honest. On top of it all, results are sent instantly to loved ones to help you stay accountable. I've been a recovery coach for a long time, and I can't think of a better tool to help people rebuild confidence and trust. Go after your goals. Visit www.soberlink.com/BLS and receive $50 off your device. Thank you, SoberLink. It's such a great device. So
Incredible.
amazing. Isn't that amazing?
I do know somebody who uses it. Actually, I do have a friend whose family member uses it. They say it's the greatest thing.
It's amazing because
Yeah.
it's the tamper-proof detection. You can use it in public. It's not embarrassing. It's like
Amazing.
totally cool. It keeps you honest. I love
Yes,
it.
it does.
So I have to give a little background. So
Yep.
I tend not to try to stay on social media for too long because it's a mind, it takes you away from life.
Yes.
But I started following you, and you just gave me, I just felt so just inspired, so happy, so excited. Okay, so this is not like me because I've never been somebody who's like, oh, I love that movie star, or I love
That's
that person.
amazing.
Okay, so and not only so this is so out of character. I'm wearing the makeup that
You
from
look amazing, by the way.
I drove
Make
to
up the jewels.
Miami. Okay, I drove to Miami to get G Beauty because
You did?
I did.
Wait, did you meet that? Who
I
did you
did.
meet?
I did. I met, and she was like, "Oh my God, do you know?" I'm like, "I watched this girl on Instagram." She's like, "Oh, Caroline." I said, "Yes," and she's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yes." So I drove from Delray, which is about an hour drive in traffic in Miami, as you know, is crazy.
Crazy.
So I did that. Then I went on and I started buying my jewels. I have Joy's. I have one of Joy's, St. Christopher, and a Mother Mary. And then these rings, okay? I always have worn the watch and the bracelets, but you have taken it to the next level.
Totally. We're Mr. T now, okay? We're going Mr. T style.
That's right. I'm like, it's like she's Mr. T. And he's like, you're exactly right. Yeah. So I know that you started doing this about 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago. I read your article in Maria Shriver.
Thank you.
So I want to hear about but the beginning. So your parents are Latino. Where are they from?
So my parents are Latino, they're Cuban, and they wow. I'm first generation here. So I'm the first one born and raised here, which is incredible. And, I am forever grateful for all the opportunities they afforded us that they never had. Like my parents definitely were super ballsy, took the chance, came out and, created a life for us. And that's why I think today it is so important for me to just live the biggest, best life I possibly can, because I know the sacrifice, especially my mom made. And I know we talk about it a lot, and I'm sure we'll touch on it, but there is something about growing up Latino, growing up, as immigrants in this country, and being able to have parents who really, really pushed, who really, afforded us every opportunity. And it was a real sacrifice. And I think today, as a mother, as a wife, I never really understood. And I don't think you really understand your parents until you really have a family of your own and you understand the difficulties and the stress and the responsibility and all that. So I think I appreciate it so much more now. I am so proud of it now. And I think as when you're young, you're just, I think, embarrassed to be different in any way. And I think it's what makes me who I am now, like, honestly. And yeah, my parents are Cuban. They came here. My sister actually was born in Puerto Rico and then moved. So I'm really the first to be born and raised here.
Where were you born?
New York City.
Wow.
So they right in the city.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, with
it
parents.
Was amazing.
And your parents, obviously their first language was not English, it was Spanish. No. So this is like totally different than everybody else you're going to school with, right?
Everyone, like my home, we only speak Spanish in my home. Like my parents till this day only speak Spanish. Like I only speak Spanish to them. We are literally, they never, my dad worked in Spanish television, it was as Latino gets. And yet I was going to an American school and I had all American friends and I had never been lived or raised in a Latin country. So I was probably the most different in the sense of my entire family. I'm probably the most Americanized, like by far. But we loved it. Like I loved growing up in the city. I didn't know any different. Like it's funny now, my kids have a backyard and a pool. Like we didn't have any of that. But when you don't know any different, I don't know. I like the fast pace. It serves my personality. I like getting things done. I'm active. I like being busy. If anything, it's like what you said. LA is a little too slow for me sometimes, or certain places. Like, I'm always like, come on, let's go. Woo, let's get things done. And it's just not this lifestyle. So I personally loved growing up in the city. I thought it made me very independent, very street smart at a very young age, which I think serves me really well now.
I think it's amazing. Now, and then where'd you end up going to college?
I went to GW, George Washington University in DC. I went there for 4 years. I graduated early with honors, and then I got into NYU for my master's in psych, which is why I love psychology and, helping people. It's always been an incredible passion of mine. Like I wanted to work in the hospital, all that. And then I got into the acting school that I really wanted to go to. And my parents had a nervous breakdown. They thought I was completely insane. And I was like, acting. And they were like, what? So turned down NYU, and I ended up going to the acting school for 2 years, did their master class, and then tried to get into the acting world. And, like everyone else, it's nowhere nearly as easy as you think it is. So it's like the reality of how hard you have to work and how, you have to have different ways of supporting yourself. It was like a real lesson of it's not as, you kind of as a kid, you walk out of your house thinking like anything is possible, anything is easy. And I think it's the first time you start to learn that everything takes a lot of work and it's not easy.
And it's humbling, right? It's like the first time somebody says no, you're like, what? I don't get to do this?
I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, and they're like, yeah, there's 20 of you. I'm like, what? So it's very humbling. And I think it's the first time, where as parents, you're constantly catering to your kids, you're constantly like helicoptering, you're protecting them, you're doing everything for them. And they have no understanding of what the real world looks like and what it feels like. And I think my parents were very much Latino, they were raised with nothing. They wanted to give us everything. And I think there are points where it isn't as great, listen, we're grateful for it all, but it isn't teaching you, I think, necessarily the lessons that you need to succeed in life.
But look at you today. I mean, but look at you today, because I can imagine them being a lot of fear, right? Like I went and I just moved from total communism where I didn't get to make any choices of my own. They didn't even have their own money. What Castro was in charge of everything.
They lost everything. My mom lost everything. Like insane what they went through. So it's like, it's such a different upbringing. It is such a different sacrifice. Like I will never understand what my parents went through or what my mom sacrificed. Like, again, she tells stories that you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like I never had to struggle in that way. And it was never like, can I put food on the table? Can I take care of my siblings? Like it is such a different phenomenon, which, makes me understand her more now because we're all so complicated. And, your environment and your experiences really change who you are and your perspective. And it's just one of those things that it has been so eye-opening, this kind of growth and kind of, opening my eyes to see my mom in such a different light, seeing motherhood, womanhood in such a different light that, as kids, it's like, we're all taught this like illusion and this fantasy and no offense, a lot of bullshit. And I just want to like kind of bring some real back and some reality back to see if some of these younger generations can stand a chance to be happy.
Oh, exactly. So tell me this. So you go and you try to get into the acting world. You're in LA. Are you working as a waitress and doing what everybody normally does?
Thank God I wasn't. I was very lucky in the sense that my parents were very supportive. I always worked. I had done commercials. I had done enough that like I had something that I could, at least get out here with. I had just finished shooting a Spanish soap opera for Univision. So I had just filmed something and I got signed out here by an agent. So I moved out here. And I thought, oh my God, the world's my oyster. Like, this is going to be great. And then it was like, oh, okay, you have to go to 500 auditions. Like, it's not easy. All of a sudden you're like, this is stressful. This is hard. And little by little, I started to make friends. I started to go out. I started an acting class. I started to kind of get into the feel, the groove. Then I got an agent and I, kind of found my way. It honestly took a good year to year and a half to feel really comfortable here and to feel happy. And it was one of the greatest lessons that I think my dad taught me. And it's funny, I have so much resentment towards my dad with like his relationship with my mom. But the greatest lesson he taught me in there, which is good for everyone when you're young, you go out with this illusion. I moved out to LA and I remember feeling really lonely. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have my people. We're all like, especially as women, you'd feel scared, you're lonely, and my dad was like, focus on the work. He was like, you didn't go out there to meet friends. You didn't go out there to meet a guy. You didn't go, like, you've already done, like, that didn't work. Like, you're not there to have fun and make friends. Like, you're there to work. So focus on studying, focus on reading scripts, like focus on your acting class. Like, don't worry about whether you're invited somewhere, whether you're doing something, like you're going to make money and work. So don't worry about anything. And it's funny. I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like, I wasn't here to socialize and to party and to do, you know what I mean? Like, that's true. So when I started focusing on the work and I actually started concentrating on the class and doing the work, all of a sudden made all these new friends. All of a sudden, everything fell into place and it all worked out. So it's just funny, those little life lessons that you realize, focus on the work and everything else falls into place.
And so then you met John, obviously, along the way.
Yeah.
Had your
Well,
baby.
didn't want to get married. I was like, I want to live. I want to enjoy my life. I don't want anybody telling me what I can and can't do. I watched my parents, my dad was a cheater. Unfortunately, like, we love him, but they had a very difficult marriage and there were so many ups and downs and we were so caught in the middle of it all. My mom, the one thing that I tell her to her face, she would tell us everything. And like, we were children. I mean, we didn't need to know every detail. And I didn't need to know whether my dad was there when I was in the hospital or not. Like, it's like the stuff that she kind of pit us against him a little bit. And it was all very overwhelming and very stressful and very scary. So with what was the point? I was about to tell you something and then I veered off on this story.
Because I was asking you when you met John. So wait, did your parents never got divorced? So they
never got divorced. My dad was cheating at 75. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, 10 years ago, he was still cheating. Now he has Alzheimer's and doesn't remember anything. But like, trust me, when I say at 75, my mom was about to kick him out of the house. I mean, it was like one more time for good old times. And I was literally like, I never want to get married. I never want to deal with this. I never want to be like at somebody's beck and call, that somebody can pull the rug from under you, or to feel trapped, or to feel like you can't leave. Because my mom would throw a big stink, but she never left. And she didn't feel like she had the capabilities to leave. She always felt very stuck and like, I don't want to leave the money. I want to make sure my girls are taken care of. Like, I sacrificed everything. I'm the one who helped you. You're not going to walk off with some young chick and leave us on the street. So my mom was like, you're screwed. We're staying together, whether you like it or not. And they are literally in the same room today in a nursing home, still arguing. She still it's insanity, still together. And I honestly, growing up, thought, I don't want to get married. I don't want to deal with this. And, with the pressure between the parents, which I talk about a lot, the pressure for my parents to marry well, I had to marry well. I needed to marry somebody, like, they didn't work this hard. They didn't sacrifice as hard without, for me to not marry well. And I almost did. I was engaged to this, like, Wall Street tycoon. I was not happy. I never felt like myself. And it's something I talk about a lot now, because now the perspective of being in a healthy, happy relationship and what I almost walked into, it was very much that vicious generational cycle. Like, I was about to go into the same thing my mom did, like, marry to be taken care of, even though that never means that. It always means you're going to be walking on eggshells for the rest of your life, because that does not bring you any security depending on somebody else to give it to you. So I really was like, I don't want to do that. And yet I fell right into the trap, because again, it's the pressure from society, friends, your parents. And I very, very fortunately had the balls to, we knew we weren't happy and we were able to walk away, which I'm very lucky, because I would have ended up divorced. He is divorced now. Like, it would have been the same shit show. And I never would have felt good. I never felt secure. I never felt comfortable. I never felt good, which is like what my mom always felt. It's like, he always made her feel like she wasn't good enough, right? Because when you're cheating, it's like, so there was something in that I was like, I'm falling into the same trap. I hate this feeling. Like, I hate not being in control of my own life. And after we broke up, that was it. That's when I took off to do the soap opera. I was like, I'm not looking back. I'm done. I'm going to go travel. I'm going to live my best life. Like, I don't want to be tied down to anybody. I don't want anybody making me feel this way ever again. I don't like this insecure feeling or this like rug going to be pulled. I was like, I'm done. And I took off. I went to do the soap opera and then I moved to LA. And then from here, I was like out, I was dating, I was having fun until my 30s. Like, I met John at 32, I think. And we started dating, and it was one of those things, like, I didn't want to meet anybody. And I met John, and it was one of those things when they say love at first sight, or whatever is meant to be for you is for you, whatever it is, there was something that, like, when we looked at each other, it was like, I was like, he's like, that's my type. I just remember thinking like, exactly. And I was like, I don't even want to meet anybody, but I was like, if I was to meet somebody, I'm like, he's cute. That's something I would be interested in. Needless to say, 5 months later, we moved in, 2 months later, engaged, and 18 years later, married with 2 kids and very happy. And we, he wasn't the richest. He wasn't, we've worked for everything. We've had to sacrifice. He's lost his job. I've lost it. Like, it has been hard, but the greatest form of hard, because we've always done it together and we've built it all together, and we are a real team, and we really care about seeing each other happy. And like, what does that mean to us? Where before it was all about being controlled and, you know what I mean, having to ask permission or having to feel insecure. And it's just the most incredible feeling. That's why I talk about it so much, because I feel like women constantly walk into these, or like desperate to get married. And I'm like, for what? Like, why are you desperate to get married and have kids? It's like, it is so hard. It's so hard. And then to be able to find somebody like you find somebody who's really great, who is willing to work with you and grow with you and change with you. It's an incredible thing. And I believe in happy marriages, but it's hard work.
It's hard work. And so when you decided, so 4.5, 5 years ago, when your mom calls you and she says, oh my God, your father's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I know it was devastating for her. It was devastating for you, because you're like, what is going on? And because this big thing that parents get old, you never really think it's going to happen. No. And it happens. Now,
you're never prepared.
Never prepared. And what were you doing with your life at that point? Because I know you weren't loving yourself.
Yes. And that's just, honestly, I was at that point. Once again, I had worked, John and I met, we were dating, we got married. I was shooting an entertainment show. Like, I was having a great time. I was working, I was on air, and we had kids. So then we have kids. By the time I had Finn, at this point now I'm staying home. Now I'm like, okay, I have 2 kids at home. We can't afford a nanny. We can't afford the night nurse or anything. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be home. The show ended. We didn't renegotiate. It was just one of those things where I find myself all of a sudden a stay-at-home mom, like Miss Worker, independent, wants to have it all. All of a sudden I'm like, wait, what? I have 2 kids, literally 2 years apart, 2 weeks apart. So 2 babies at the age of 38 and 40. I have kids. I have infants. I'm going through perimenopause. I've got 2 babies. I've got a husband who's working 24/7 because he needs to and has to, and traveling from like Monday to Thursday. So I am in the thick of motherhood. I'm in the thick of drowning. I'm in the thick of not looking like myself, not feeling like myself, like having kids back to back, like sweating, overweight, exhausted, stressed. The anxiety was insane. Perimenopause was starting to happen. It was like, and so all of a sudden I was feeling all of that anxiety, the hair, name it, I felt it. And the mood swings and the craziness. So it was like all of this happening. And I was just volunteering at school. I remember I was just like going back and forth, just driving back and forth to school, volunteering, all the moms, all the gossip, all the bullshit. I hated it. I hated, like, you know what I mean? Everyone gossiping and staring. And then you were sacrificing it all and volunteering all these hours and raising all this money, and no one gave a shit. No one thanked you. The parents are rude. Like, I was kind of like, what am I doing? Like, this is as good as it gets. Like, I remember thinking, like, this is the rest of my life. Like, this is crazy. And then the phone rings and my mom is hysterical. Like, one of her horrible episodes. And she doesn't know where the money is. She doesn't know where anything is. He has Alzheimer's. He doesn't remember anything. Like, well, there's money gone. There's this. The taxes hadn't been paid in 3 years. It was like, my hands were shaking. My whole body started trembling. I had like a full-blown panic attack. My mom's like, you have to take care of everything. Like, I need your help. Like, I don't know what we're doing. And I was like, wait, what? And all of a sudden, I was completely in charge of my parents and all of their finances, like all of their health, trying to find them a home, trying to find doctors, trying to find everything, with 2 babies at home, my husband traveling. My sister wrote us off and said she didn't want to speak to us ever again, and took off and left everything on me. And I literally thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown, like, not joking. I remember hanging up the phone and just thinking the weight of the world. Like, when you're just like in shock, like you're numb because you're like, what am I going to do? And I remember walking past the mirror, I looked and I was like, I didn't even recognize myself. Like, I just remember being like, who the hell is that? I was like, where is smiling Caroline? Like, where is happy Caroline? Where is looks fabulous? Where's the jewels? Where's having fun? where's someone that like is like ready for anything? I was like, you look exhausted. You look like a shell of yourself. Like you don't look good. You don't look like you feel good. And you're definitely not doing shit. Like this is not me. And I remember literally in that moment looking in the mirror, and I will never forget it. That is where this all began. And I was like, I'm gonna bring her back. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this. I'm going to know where my money is. I'm going to know how to take care of myself. I was like, I'm not going to fall into this. I'm not going to be 84 years old having a nervous breakdown because the rug just was pulled from under you and you don't know what to do. It literally lit such a fire under my ass that I was like, I am going to bring back the best version of me every single day till my last breath. I was like, I just watched my mom sacrifice. I watched everything she sacrificed to now feel like this. I was like, no, I'm not playing this game. I have power. I'm in control of my life. I don't need other people to make decisions for me. I don't need anybody else to take care of me. I need to take care of me. And I was like, that's it. I'm bringing her back. And I went down to John and I was like, get ready because Caroline's coming back. He was like, what?
I was going to say, what did John and the boys say?
He was like, shit. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm going to start getting up early. I was like, I need you to help a couple of days a week, take the kids to school. I was like, I need to work out. I need to get my head straight. I'll go, I'm having horrible anxiety. I'm not sleeping at night. I'm insomnia. I'm overweight. I don't recognize myself. I was like, I'm having hot flashes. I'm pissed. I'm cranky. I want to disappear. I feel like I want to run away some days. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. And it wasn't even like postpartum. It was just motherhood without ever taking care of yourself. And I realized like there's so many of us that like you just keep going. You just keep burning like the candle at both ends. And we completely sacrifice ourselves. And for what? Because at the end of the day, your kids are going to go, your husband's going to keep doing what he's doing. What happens to you? And it really was this really eye-opening of like, what are the stories I want to tell my grandkids? Like, what is it that I like at the end? I want to remember and talk about my memories, not all of my regrets, which is what my mom does.
And do you know how lucky you are? And the fact that you're helping so many women, because I was one of those moms, right? 5 years ago, my youngest one left. I had always been working a little bit here and there, but this has always been my dream to have my own show. But I had 3 babies right in a row, ding, 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 right? Just kind of like you did, 96, 97, 99. And it took over my life. And then they all left and it was like, now what? Now what? Now
it's
what?
Like lonely and scary. I mean, I think women, when they're like, I don't recognize, it's like, yeah, it's scary when you've sacrificed 18 years. You've now like let yourself go. You are like not feeling like your best self. And then all of a sudden it's like you're just like left standing in a room and you're like, wait, what? Like, what am I supposed to do now? And you're like, yeah, it's been 18 years. That's a really long time.
It's a really long time of going to football games, going to my daughter rode, my youngest one played every squash, all this stuff. You're going to all these things. It's all about them. But then you decide that you're going to start filming yourself. When did you decide that you were going to take this on and the Mr. T and all the jewels and all of this? Because I think, and I can't imagine what your husband thinks, what your kids think. We're going to get to that. But what made you decide? And let's face it, we all turn to shop. At least I turn to shopping. I love to shop, right?
Yeah, everyone does.
And unfortunately, I like to go to those places that tend to be a little.
I know.
And your husbands are like, and I love it when you do, like, especially with John carrying you out of the house, like, I'm going to return, we're returning
Oh my
her.
God, John deal. I mean, and trust me, we fight about money. We fight about credit card. Like, yes, I feel like people don't ever say the truth.
Right.
About what really goes on. And it's like, we're all so similar and we are, we all have our own little triggers and things that we do. And like to think, again, keeping up with the Joneses, but you don't really know what the Joneses have, right? It's like at the end of the day, you realize everyone has credit card debt. Everyone's hiding packages. Everyone's like the women are always shopping. The men are always pit. It's like the same story. Everyone, very few is it the man's the shopper and she's, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
But it is something that we realize we all need these little, these little things that we go out of our way to, like, whether it's shopping, whether it's, those not necessarily what's good for us. Like when I started the Happy Tools, it was so much not having to necessarily go spend money, but like, what are some natural things that like change that perspective, change that mood, change that? Because for me too, my trigger is to go buy something or go shop. And sometimes that's really fun and it's great. But again, yeah, are you going to put yourself in the hole and not know how to take care of yourself and not have enough if God forbid he walks away? Now you have all this, again, it's women aren't taught finances. We aren't taught how to take care of ourselves. We're not taught how to invest. It's the greatest mistake I think the education system has right now is not teaching women finances. And it's how the men control us. Unfortunately, I told you, marriage is a Ponzi scheme. I've decided it is like they dangle the carrot, literally. They promise you the world. You make your investment by getting married and having a baby. And then all of a sudden it's like, you just keep investing and giving and giving and giving. And then you're like, okay, now I want something back. Now I want a little bit of my investment back. Or now I want to go on that. Now where's the Chanel bag? And they're like, what do you mean? What Chanel bag? What do you mean? The credit card's limit. Right. You're like, what the fuck just happened? Like I made my investment and now you don't have to keep up with yours. And I think a lot of women get caught in that trap of, we don't really talk about things and we don't really have open communications. Even in marriages, you see that men and women aren't really talking about the money or the spending or the things. It's all very secretive and all very, I mean, I felt that way too. Like I don't want John controlling me. So it feels defensive when we talk about money. I don't know.
It makes, oh my God. Oh, exactly. Oh my, it's so hard. It is so hard. And now here I am at 54 years old and I'm like, I'm ready for this to take off. I'm working my ass off to get this podcast off the ground. And I'm going to do whatever I can to make it happen. But the two things I love that you've taught people, for one, I love that you take the 10 minutes of just looking at the sun, because that is free. That is free. That is free. You can do it.
It's therapy. Sun therapy is, you guys, I'm like, Google it, look it up. It is a real thing. What the sun directly on your face and what that vitamin D does for your mind, for your health, for your body. There is something, and I remember during COVID, I would go outside and I would sit in the sun. And it's like when you're having that anxiety or that stress, that is a coping mechanism, is the sun, is sun therapy. So it's like, how having cold water on your neck, things like that, trigger you out of it. I remember thinking like just sitting out here and just thinking about the things you have, just thinking about it just would take that anxiety, would just calm me. And I remember just thinking like, this is medicine. Like little things I started to do became those happy tools of like, what are these natural, movement, getting that walk in, getting that little bit of exercise in, like getting those endorphins and like, it's actual medicine that people aren't willing to do. You know what I mean?
No, it's too hard. It's too hard. So even giving them that, okay, all I'm asking you to do is walk outside, put your head towards the sun and just sit there for 10 minutes.
And I'm like, just do one lap around the block. I could just get outside and do one lap. If you can't do anything else, that one lap will turn into more. And it's always about that 5-minute rule, just getting started, just doing the little, because everyone's like, how do you get started? How do you get started? I'm like, you just got to start small and start easy. If you complicate it, we're humans. We love excuses. We love to not have to do it. So we won't, if it's hard, that's the excuse. So you have to keep it super simple, where I'm always like, just one lap around the block, 1 minute in the sun, put on a pair of hoops, keep your sweats on until you're ready, but put the hoops on. Do one thing each week that just changes a little bit, that little bit of perspective, because that will add up. As soon as you start feeling good, the jewels start to come on, like the clothes start to come on. And it's like, you just got to get started.
You totally do. And I also love that in your shop on Amazon, all of your most of your prices are they're so reasonable. You're not asking somebody to go out and again, get credit card debt. I mean, it's not going to take your husband's not going to, I mean, it's not like you're going to Neiman Marcus or to your jewelry store down the street, or Tiffany's for that matter.
And once in a while, yes. Like, I work and I just bought myself the body chain. Like I will take my money that I worked and I will go buy something I want. And I'm happy to invest in some pieces, some bags, some things that you can make money on, things that you can resell, I think is a very good investment for women, like my jewelry and things. But I also want to make sure that it's very clear that it is not the price tag that makes you look good. It's you making the effort that makes you look good. And then the smile that comes from the effort, that's what looks really good. So I'm not concerned if you're in head to toe Target or if you're in head to toe Valentino. I'm talking about just make the effort. Everyone deserves to look fabulous and feel fabulous. And it doesn't have to cost a lot to do that. So I like showing mostly that price point that you can afford it. You can do it. You can treat yourself because it feels good. And then you can look good and look cute. And it doesn't break the bank. It doesn't get you into a fight with your husband. You know what I mean? And if you can afford the more expensive things, incredible. I think it's an incredible investment. But again, I want to make sure that there's options for everyone, because I feel like every single woman deserves to look and feel fabulous.
We do. Now, so tell me this. So how long did it take for you to get, I don't know, because now you're really, I mean, everything's starting to pop right now, isn't it?
Yeah, things have gotten crazy.
Okay. And your life. So, and you still have these two people who you gave birth to that have to go to school, and you still have your husband. So I can tell you from my experience, my kids are always like, get off the phone, Mom, get off that internet. You're so annoying. Oh my God, you're so embarrassing. And I wonder, and I say to my husband all the time, I'm like, how do her kids not yell at her? Do your kids yell at you for being on the phone?
You know what's really funny? Okay, so truthfully, they really understand that it's my work. Like they understand that all of these gifts that are arriving or everything I'm affording them comes from me being on the phone. So that's like the first understanding. Like I'm not scrolling. And if they do ask me like, Mom, come sit with me, whatever, I do make that real effort to try to like make sure that there is that connection, because you're right. It is like, it's all consuming. I have to be on 24/7. There is something where like, they don't want to necessarily be filmed. That's something like my oldest definitely doesn't want to be on camera and filmed. He doesn't mind what I'm doing. He doesn't mind that all his friends watch or all his friends' moms watch. Like he's proud of me. That's the good part, is that he will literally be like, Mom, I'm so proud of you. Or like, he knows I started this from nothing. Like he knows I was sitting on the couch driving to school, and now Dad's driving to school and I'm the one working. Like he fully understands. And I think he's really proud of me. And as long as I respect his boundaries and their boundaries, there's like once in a blue moon that we're in the car or something that they'll be like, Mom, like, don't, like, why do you have to film that or something? But most of the time I try to really make an understanding of showing them what I'm doing, the hard work we're putting in. Like we're not just screwing around on the phone. I'm not just shopping. Like I'm actually filming or working or helping someone, like is what I try to show them. But it's hard to be, you're trying to teach them to not be on the phone 24/7. And then you're on the phone 24/7. Of course, like it's slightly contradicting, but we're more of a tech family. My husband's in tech. We're not as opposed to the technology as some people are, and I understand it, but we're very much like, they're very tech kids. I feel like the future is tech, and I'm okay with them having a real understanding of it, as long as, of course, we're safe and we're monitoring it. But it's funny, I'm always on the phone. I'm always on social media. And I honestly think it's been the greatest thing, because my kids could care less about social media. My son is on Instagram, doesn't post a single thing. He's never scrolling, never watching. Doesn't post a single thing.
So do you guys have dinner just without any phones, just the four of you?
Not always, to be honest. I'm going to be transparent, because I don't want any family to think like, oh yeah, we put our phone, we're like every other family. We have to tell them to please put it down. When we're on vacation, we're arguing, they want to go home to their computers. Like they're normal kids like anybody else. We have to, there are days that we allow it, and we're like, everyone's kind of watching their thing, and I have to get work done or something. And then there's other times that we absolutely are like, can you guys put your phones down? Let's just eat dinner, and then you guys can go back. But we try to make that, but we're not crazy strict. We really believe in self-control. We really believe in teaching self-control, to be honest with you. Like we have a snack drawer full of snacks. They have never gone in it. They never grab anything. Not joking. The TVs are on. They're not even like, I honestly think it's been that little bit of, we trust you, make a good decision. And so far, so good. Not to say it's going to last forever, but we are trying to teach some sort of self-control.
I love that. Now tell me this, you've been doing this again for 5 years. How long did it take for you to get this many? Because I know that I've watched you. I think you've grown by 100,000 followers.
I think it was at like 38,000 followers in like February or March. And we're almost at 500,000 now. And now it's on across all the platforms. Now it's on TikTok and Facebook. And now it's over 200,000 on TikTok, 200,000 on Facebook. So now we're almost at 1 million on Meta, which is insane in like 2 months. So we've exploded, and it's been incredible in the best way possible, because after 4 years of breaking your butt, which I know, being on every single day for 4.5 years, didn't miss a day, didn't miss a coffee talk. I've been persistent, consistent, without stopping. And to see this in any way, just have some visibility, have some acknowledgement, just have somebody just to be able to say it feels good. It does feel good. I'm not going to lie. It feels good. And I think that the difference of what happened, because I know everybody's dying to know, now everyone's dying to know, like, what did you do? What did you do? And I think number one, I want to remind everyone who's trying to get into this industry, it took 5 years. This wasn't overnight. I've been on for 5 years every day. And I said, it did help when John, he was fired. His entire team was blindsided. He had taken on a new job 6 months ago in January, right after Christmas. literally was the greatest job, huge opportunity. One day to the next, he got a call, their entire team wiped out. And I literally was like frozen. Like we had just given up the biggest job, like security, I was like, what? I'm sorry, what? I was like, what do you mean you don't have a job? I was like, I don't understand. And so all of a sudden it's on me. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay. I was like, but I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe 5 years ago, I might've been a bitch. Like, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been cranky. I might've blamed. I might've pointed fingers. I might've
Yeah.
been resentful. I'm going to be honest. As a woman and as a wife, being home, sacrificing, taking care of the kids for all those years. And all of a sudden you're kind of like, what? So it was. And I have to tell you, it's in this process, we have deliberately told ourselves every single day, and I know you know this, choose happy. That is something that we choose every single morning. Perspective, just choose happiness. When you're fighting, choose happy. Like when you're pissed, choose happy. Like just, you know what I mean? Like that perspective of like, choose kindness. Like it's not going to help. So in that moment, I will never forget me thinking like, I want to die. Like I want to cry. I want to have a nervous breakdown. I want to freaking freak out. And I said, but I'm going to choose happy. And I was like, I'll never regret being supportive. I'll never regret being kind. I would regret maybe being a bitch and everything working out. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm going to be kind. And I was like, we got this. I go, take your time, find a job you really love. Like you are so smart, so incredible. I was like, we're not going to stress about this. We're good. Next thing you know, he starts helping me. Like he starts helping with my, TikTok he's helping me film. He's like organizing and we start, pushing hard. He's just helping. And then next thing you know, we had 3 TikToks go viral in one night. That's where it was one night in March. We were posting 3 to 4 to 5 content a day across all platforms. So we were pushing literally 4 pieces of content a day on all platforms. So we film about 12 reels in a day.
Oh my
and then
God, excuse me.
every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm filming like today, my assistant's here. We will film 10 to 12 reels today and Thursday. Then I have to film all my get readies. Then I film all my coffee talks. And then I'm on all platforms doing lives and it is 24/7 without stopping 7 days a week. And so with all that content, 3 went viral in one night and we had 70,000 follows. Then we kept getting viral every week. And then next, it just kept growing and kept growing. And then Maria Shriver reached out, and then all of these, incredible women, Katie Couric, everyone starts reaching out and doing articles and podcasts and this, and it just keeps getting better and better, to be honest. And now we're just off. Now we're doing book, podcast, unscripted show. We're working with incredible brands. It's like everything I dreamt of I'm actually starting to see it happen.
And you're doing it with your best friend.
Everyone's like, how do you guys work together? I'm like, we communicate. It's not that it's easy. Yes, he annoys me. Yes, we get frustrated. Yes, he yells at me for spending too. Yes, all of it. But I have to say the greatest thing that we have is respect. We don't curse at each other. We don't disrespect each other. We're always respectful, even in fighting. So even when you're upset. So I do think our communication is incredible. And I think it's the key to any healthy marriage, right? It's like, no one's dead in love forever. You have to be able to communicate and be good friends that want to see each other win. I think that's the greatest relationship.
That's exactly. I was just talking to somebody this morning and she was like, well, I just am not into him. And I'm like, I totally get it. We get a little it's not the butterflies anymore. And then you're older and you're like, and then you have menopause and you're like, my husband was like,
God, you're like, I can't stand you. No, of course. I mean, all of my friends, we die laughing. We're all like, it's like, I'll be like, John, I was like, I'm getting on the plane and I'm never coming back. 2 hours later, I was like, I take it back. I'm back. I was like, oopsie. I was like, I didn't mean it. That's why you have to be able to communicate, because women in our hormones and perimenopause, we have to be able to communicate, or your husband for sure is going to think you're insane. There's no way around it.
Oh, no way. And so my husband knows I'm insane and we embrace it. We embrace the fact.
We embrace our crazy.
And what do you think? Because I do, okay, for one, you say you have cellulite, and so many of my friends are like, shit, it's not even
I actually went in the sun. Did you see the one from Sunday?
No, I didn't see. In your green bikini when you were running? Yes.
I went into the sun and I actually was like, because in the sun, you really see it all.
I know.
I can't even tell you how many women were like, thank you for posting that. Thank you for posting that. Cause it was like, I know like in the shade or this, but I love making that point when women say they don't see the cellulite. That's my point. So if you don't see the cellulite on me, why do you think everyone sees the cellulite on you?
I love that. Bingo.
Wear the bikini, guys. Wear it all.
Oh, I always do. I don't care.
Oh
I do
God,
not care anymore. I do not care. And what do you think it has happened since COVID that has made it so hard for women right now to connect? Because I have met more women recently that feel alone, that feel isolated, that feel like they can't find a friend, that they feel so lost. And what do you think it is?
I honestly think that I think motherhood can be very lonely. And I think COVID just exasperated that because again, I know as a mom, I felt very much in a bubble. I needed to pop because it's like you become like this routine, you become like zombie-like. I mean, you are just like following along what everybody like the baby clock, this clock, and then you come straight home or you don't leave your house for days because with the baby or you're exhausted or you're not sleeping or you're sweating. So I do think there's something in motherhood that can be very isolating. It can be very lonely. And I think you can get caught up in that day to day and kind of forget to see the friend or kind of forget to make that call or do something for yourself. Because again, we're good moms if we're sacrificing it all. And I think with COVID, it just exacerbated that because now we were all stuck at home for 2 years and nobody was seeing each other or talking. So now, yes, getting back into the world, why I was so adamant about COVID and everyone thought I was crazy why I was getting dressed and shout. Remember during COVID, I was getting dressed. I had sequins pants on. I had hats on. Everyone thought I was losing my mind. And I was like, the difference between you and I is I'm going to walk out of this pandemic looking and feeling fabulous. And you're going to be a fucking mess. That's the difference. And you're going to be starting from scratch because you let yourself go. Why? Because things got hard or because things weren't perfect or because you're scared. I'm like, you got to find your happy in the hard. You got to find your happy in your everyday, mundane, normal lives or we don't stand a chance because life is really hard. We're always going to be thrown things that are hard. And I think it's about us finding our happy in the hard and getting out there and making that effort. Like we've forgotten what that is to socialize. We always talk about the village. There is no village anymore. No families are talking. Everyone's fighting. And I'm like, I think there's so much anger. There's so much misunderstanding. I feel like people have stopped communicating and taking care of each other. Everyone's like, out fending for themselves. And that can be very isolating and very scary. And then you feel alone and you don't want to say that you're not happy or that life isn't perfect, right? Because then God forbid everybody knows and then nobody talks. And then things become very secretive. And then how hard is it to keep that secret? So now you kind of isolate a little bit more because you're trying to keep the secret and you don't want anybody to know. Right. So I think it's again about us being more open. I think that's why it's so important for me I took all the filters off. I took all the bullshit off. I show you my everyday, the real thing, what I'm doing, what I'm wearing. I'm not putting on Valentino to pretend like I'm going to school. Like I want to bring back real normal lives because again, we've normalized celebrity and it's like, you never feel good enough. And I think so many women just aren't feeling good enough, aren't feeling smart, aren't feeling capable, aren't feeling like the best version of themselves. And what does that do? It makes you insecure and it makes you isolate, which only makes it worse.
Totally, 100%. And I want to ask you this last question. What do you think, because I live in Florida, so obviously I feel like I'm in a different, we're all in California is so different than Florida, right? Yeah, but totally. Right now, what they're doing in politics right now and how it's pulling us all apart. We're on the right, it's already started, right? We already had there was one debate this past week. And it's literally pulling and I think that's what I feel like it's what they want to have happen. They want us all to be a part. What is your advice when it comes to politics and when people are talking about it? Because people talk about it all the time, right? Because you can't help but talk about it. What is your advice for them?
The truth is, I've realized what I hate about what's happened in the last 8 years, is we've stopped having respect for each other and having respect for opinion. And I think when we stop being able to talk and we stop, I remember my parents being able to, everyone cursing at the table at each other, and then they'd be smoking a cigar and everything was fine. You could argue about, you could disagree, but you didn't hate each other. You could respect somebody else's opinion or advice. And I think for me, I really miss the respect of being able to have an interesting, intelligent conversation. And it isn't about yelling at each other. You will never change anyone's opinion by screaming, yelling, and insulting them. That's never going to happen. So for me, it's always about how can you have a healthy, open conversation and maybe learn something, or it's okay if you disagree, but be able to show that respect for each other. So to me, it's always about showing respect. To me, that's the biggest thing, because I'm all about have difference of opinion. I'm okay. I can talk to anybody. I'm okay for you to completely disagree with me, as long as we show each other respect, because I'm always open for learning.
Exactly.
And I think
love
that's
that.
I think that's where the big problem is. No one's talking anymore.
No, nobody's talking. And then our
No.
kids don't learn anything but what our
Nothing.
view is, right? Because we're like telling our view, but we're
What a
not.
celebrity's view is.
Right,
We're like,
exactly.
what do they know? I'm like, what does anybody know? Like, nobody really knows. Like, watch Poison, watch that other Netflix show on like the Oxycontin. You will have a completely different perspective on everything.
Oh, it's
So I'm like,
yeah.
how do these kids possibly understand anything when what they're watching on TV is a bunch of adults screaming and insulting each other? What are you learning?
Exactly.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I hate it. I was
it.
thinking, I was watching the debate. I was like, if this is the best 8 we can get, seriously, where?
Oh my God,
like
we're
little
so
kids.
screwed across the board. We are screwed. So I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I can't even watch it. It just makes me, it's like, it's not even worth it.
No, it's not. But it is so, thank you so much for coming on.
Babe, I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy that you were here. And please let me know when the book comes out, when your podcast comes out. I'm so excited for you.
I so appreciate you.
Oh my God. I am cheering you on, but I'm telling everybody about it. I have all my friends.
I'm cheering you on too.
It's so
I'm cheering you on too. I'm always rooting for you, babe.
And I'm trying to be Mrs. T too. Look at me.
If everyone could just see all our jewels.
I know. Look at this.
Glasses on. Put your glasses on. Hold on.
Okay, and these glasses I bought because of Caroline. Aren't they great? My husband's like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah, look, yeah, I love it. I feel like
By
$1 million bucks.
Those are my favorite ones. I
Aren't
actually
these
think
fat? Oh, I love them. Oh my God, I love them. I do. I love them. And then I've gotten the sunnies. I've gotten all these sunnies. You brightened up my day. You changed. I actually have to tell you that I feel like $1 million bucks. I've ordered the skirts. I've got the white t-shirts. I've got it. I like, you keep giving me these hints. It's amazing.
So happy.
Thank you so much. Sending lots of love, lots of hugs. And love you. Thanks for everything you do for all of us.
Always. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Lots of love. Take care, honey.
Bye.
Bye.